Hello and welcome to the October DNN user group meeting of the Southern Fried DNN user group. We are excited today to have some guests in the house who are going to make some presentations. We have Bogdan with DNN Sharp ready to tell us about an exciting new product that he has that's going to bring together a lot of the pieces of DNN Sharp modules to create apps and to create new solutions with DNN. So as our main guest, we will turn it over to Bogdan in a few moments and are excited to do that. But as we do every Southern Fried user group meeting, we are going to begin by talking a little bit about community events and buzz that's out there. I'll begin by talking about DNN Summit. As you know, I'm one of the organizers who's helping present DNN Summit in Orlando, Florida in 2020, February. If you have not made your plans for where you want to be in the beginning of 2020, I think I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to suggest that you try and do big things in 2020 so that you'll be able to look back and say, hey, in the numerically important year 2020, I did all of these fantastic things, and it should kick off with you being in Orlando, Florida with us to celebrate DNN community, learning, training, sessions, and a little bit of fun at Disney in the local area as well with your DNN community friends. The DNN Summit site has had a lot of updates in the last week or two. David Poindexter is really the main drive behind website updates, and we have to thank him for the hard work that he's put in to basically get a lot of the content now presented live for the training sessions, information for the conference, including speakers and a tentative starter setup of a schedule. And what I wanted to do was spend just a moment talking about that just a little bit. To begin with, all of the speakers have been announced, and if you come to the attend conference and speakers section, you'll be able to see a full list of all of the speakers who've been confirmed to speak at DNN Summit. And take a look here who falls at the very top of the list because it's alphabetized by first name. I thought that was serendipity. That was perfect. Check in, take a look at your speakers here. I encourage you, partly because we have so many features in here, I encourage you to reach out to those speakers. And if there's something that they're talking about that you're interested in, ask some questions. Ask them if they're going to talk about X, Y, Z. You've got plenty of ways to contact them here from their websites and social links here. So it's a pretty good setup in the new way that these are handled. If we head to sessions, we can see that now we can read the details for all of those sessions and again see their times for the tentative times. I know that schedule is going to change and be adjusted, but you can at least see the start for that schedule. You can also see based on track whether you want to take a look at the marketing courses and sessions, development, DNN, or design related. So you're able to go in and see the details for all of the sessions. Schedule-wise, I was very impressed with the new setup that I literally saw for the first time just a few moments ago. But we do have our session in place. This year, obviously being at a different location than Summit in Denver, we have new rooms and new structure set up, so there'll be a little bit of a learning curve with where things are going to be located, but we still have 5 rooms for our tracks to go through, and you're able to take a look at and see the schedule and start thinking about what you want to attend out of each day and each block of time. Probably the change that I know that I'll mention is that the day is currently incorrect and it'll get moved around. And we may have some schedule changes, but you are able to dive into it. Additionally, we want to encourage everyone to register. There seems to be within the community a delay of registration in events and signing up in the last month before the event happens. But as organizers for the event, we really need to know you're coming. We need to know what courses you want to take if you're doing training. We need to know the amount of people who are using the room bookings. So it's really helpful if you register as soon as possible. We're still within the early bird for pricing, and If you need extra help or information to get it across the line to your bosses or managers to approve, things like the new information for training courses is now present on the website so that you can help promote and describe what's going on in training with all of the different training courses that we have. We have 5 courses that are being run through. Administrator training, that's DNN generic or general, administrator training, content editor training, theme and skin design and development. Development is also in 2 courses this year, just like it was last year. So there's an intro to dev and advanced dev, and that is module development. And then we will have an evoke-focused session as well. And on all of these courses might shift depending on registration and things. That's another reason to get yourself registered and register early, because we will close classes if we don't see enough registration for them, just to make more room for the ones that have larger registration. Finally, my last note on DNN Summit is to encourage sponsors. One of the things that I mentioned in last SoFri meeting was that if you are a DNN partner, you are encouraged and have some requirements to help support community events. And DNN Summit is one of the community events that happens every year that you have an opportunity to partner with. Help make DNN conventions a success and help bring more DNN awareness and information to others that are out there. So it's a great cause, and it's a great way for you to pitch in with the DNN community in a place that is very well needed. So we've had some new sponsor sign-ups, and so we want to take a moment to talk or to show those and to say thank you to those folks, and also encourage others to sign up as sponsors. At that, long breath taken in. David, do you have anything else you want to add in about DNN Summit?
No, I think you covered it pretty well there, Ryan. Good job.
It was a long run of information. All right, then one of the things that I'll kind of check in with next is a little bit of information about DNN community and activities and things that have happened recently. One of the things that I was not able to participate in yesterday was the DNN Corp Q3 or Q4 conference that they were having online. And Mike, you were able to attend that. Do you want to share with us, a few bullet points, a synopsis of what you heard?
Yeah, sure. It was a good overall kind of general information update for I think both customers of DNN Corporation and just platform community users. Mitchell Sellers was speaking on behalf of the TAG group, and Ash Prasad and Andy Treba from DNN Corp, and I think there was a few other presenters from Corp as well in there. Major takeaways that I took from it: DNN Platform 9.4.1 is now out, and it sounds like there's kind of the start of a more frequent release cycle for smaller iterations of the platform. So focusing more on dot releases in the next immediate future to just stabilize a bit more instead of doing significantly large releases, which as we all know can have challenges with testing. It's harder. So that was nice to see, and I guess from the Evoke side, they're kind of keeping pace with the more rapid cycle as well. The other takeaway I took from it, from a version perspective, was DNN 10. There's no date set in stone, but for Summit, I believe the target is supposed to be a release candidate potentially for Summit, which would be pretty cool. And the other things I noted was that there's been talk about liquid content coming back or not coming back, potentially being donated to the platform. So there was some talk on that. And it doesn't sound like that's going to be happening. And I know there was some kind of uncertainty for probably the last 6 months to a year on that one, so that was cool to that cleared up. And the other big one was, at least from my perspective, the new store or update to the store for DNN extensions. There wasn't a whole lot of details surrounding dates and feature set, but there was some, wireframes and mock-ups shown. So I'm not sure if it's completed or still in development, but that looks like it's coming in the next probably couple of months. They said before Summit, so that's pretty promising.
You know, I'll tell you an encouraging part of that was that it sounds like they describe things in terms of before summit or after summit, and that helps mean that it's on the radar as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, the new store, when we had our DNN MVP meeting a week ago or so, Ash mentioned the store and described that you know, there may be changes ahead for vendors for their product listings and for the details that they'll need to come in and to make updates, but that as of a week ago, they weren't specific about what those things may or may not be. So I know that's something that module vendors will all be waiting for to watch and see what they have to do to make updates. All right. Well, thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. Some other community news. You know, I always go to the blog location to see what's been posted and what is new. And I'll tell you that one of them caught my eye a couple of weeks ago, and that is that Andrew Heffling has released a new, I was going to say module, but it's more than just a module. He's released a component that allows DNN to better handle loading static HTML-based web pages as protected pages that can have DNN roles running through and managing those. And the minute I read the synopsis of that, I got very excited because there have been times when I have inherited an older website that was all straight HTML-based, and while we were preparing the DNN version, we needed to do something with these old HTML pages. Or sometimes there are components or items that are based in HTML, and that's all they are, and we have to load them in iframes, or we have to do some tricks to load them. One good example is we have a client that does courses, like training courses, and so they have slideshow-like walkthrough of content, and they have a quiz at the end. Those things are all generated by a tool. They're generated and spit out as straight HTML, and we have to do tricks to make those things be user-protected. But with this type of item in place, we really won't have that as an issue. Andrew mentions that this was really created to help support the DocFX and the Docs system, and it is out there on GitHub, and it's another public contribution from Andrew Heffling. So even though he wasn't able to be here tonight, I think we all need to say thank you for producing something pretty awesome that I don't know if it was on anyone's radar, but the minute that he put it out there, I thought instantly of multiple uses for the thing. So this really is something that had some need. David, you want to say anything else, Chad? Did you?
Yeah, I was just going to say it was kind of cool how this came about. The company that he works for, they needed a way to better make accessible their developer documentation internally in their intranet. And they were looking at static site generators, you know, like DocFX is what they ended up landing on. Of course, we were able to help them out a lot with that because of the experience that's what DNN Docs is running off of as well. So he needed a way to take the output of that and to make that follow the rules of the DNN file and folder security. So it's pretty cool how that came about. It's pretty snazzy.
Yeah, it's a good case study for being involved in the community, having a need, building to supply for that need, and then helping enrich the community by having that be open source and benefit others, who can then also come in and help make it better too. So thank you to Andrew for putting that out there. That's kind of my bullet list of things I wanted to cover from the community. David, Bogdan, Mike, anyone else have other community events or news that you think we need to bring up that I've missed? Cricket. Okay, then I'll say that we're in pretty good shape. We have our main guest of the night. Bogdan is here to present to us a new feature, a new tool, a new element that's being added to the DNN Sharp collection, which I'm interested in hearing about. Every time Bogdan spends some time with us, he shows us something that is pretty slick, something that's well put together, and as a group of tools together, the DNN Sharp items all work together in a very, again, I'm going to use the description slick. They're pretty smooth and pretty polished the way they all work together. So I'm looking forward to seeing another new component here and learning what can be done with it. So with that, Bogdan, I will pass over screen share to you, and we will go from there.
Thanks for the intro, Ryan. Should I get a pop-up or something? Or?
You should, just now.
Oh, it says that I have to download to become a presenter, so.
Yes. For everyone waiting online with us, and you may need to exit and come back in again. Well, let's see. But yeah, that's a common thing. Even if you had it downloaded, if you hadn't been here in a month or two, it would probably need to get a new version. So it's one of those. It's one of those rough things. In the meantime, Bogdan, do you want me to bring up a screen or anything specific? Nope. There he goes.
Well, you were. Yeah, I was just thinking there's another community update which caught my eye recently. I think it's probably the last 2 weeks it came out. It's more definitely for developers or people that want to find the DNN source code for troubleshooting, what have you. Before it used to be in many different repositories, and they've taken the persona bar, admin experience, the platform itself, and maybe some other supporting projects and collapsed it all down into one. So now there's one place to get the DNN source code. There's one place to go and log an issue. I know.
Yep.
At least some things I came across when I was logging issues. Where do you put it? Do you put it on the platform, or is it a min tool thing? A lot of the times, unless you're building DNN, you don't know. So people will put it where maybe the entry point is for where they ran into the issue.
What that item was, right?
Exactly, yeah. So that's a change, a nice change to see. I haven't grabbed the latest stuff and tried it, so I can't speak to if it's easier to set up or anything. But it sounds like it probably should be. So yeah, that's a nice update. There's movement there.
Oh, awesome. It is astronomically easier now and quicker. The build process is being worked on significantly and still in process of improving, but build times are crazy short now compared to where there was before. So it's nice to see those improvements and trying to help the developer experience.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I heard people talking about.
I know when I made the last contribution for myself, it was quite some time ago now, but there was a good ramp up for me to get the thing working. So I'm looking forward to trying it on some new features.
Well, we're holding for Bogdan to come back in. I can see him popping back in a little bit, so he's still in the download process. Mike, I had kind of picked up briefly while we were doing MVP meeting the other day that you have a release coming out soon, and I know we're going to have you on here soon enough to talk with us about that. But why don't we ask you for a plug here while we're on hold? What kind of timeline we got here for a release?
Yeah, I'm sure you're referring to the release of Shine. So the next Southern Fried, I believe it's the third Thursday of November. That's going to be our launch date. So we'll do a quick high-level presentation surrounding what is Shine. We've talked about it now for a few years, but we'll give you a high-level overview of it and drill into some case studies to show you, hey, if you have myself, I do a lot of consulting, so I have clients. Hey, here's how it can help certain types of clients. Here's how it can help developers. Here's how it can help website administrators. So we'll have a really good presentation for next month, kind of going through that, and then we'll be launching our website that night and starting to take orders and download what have you.
Excellent. Good timing. Good timing. Well, I tell you, Bogdan has come in and left 3 times that I've watched. So hopefully he's not having technical difficulties. I know you always sweat it when that happens, but it's common. It's part of using technologies like this. He's around the world from where I am in North Carolina, so we should be impressed that it's so easy for us to do this just to begin with. He's getting here. I can see him in the, see, here we go with ding for the audio now. Hi Bogdan, you back with us?
Yes, I'm back.
I hear you. I see you. Let's see if I can share with you.
Ryan, you may have to make him presenter again.
I'm giving it a try. We're going to see how it goes. But he's back on video as well.
Okay, so I got the
Bogdan,
invite.
is he prompting you for share?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Let's see. It works.
Ooh. While we're waiting, I'll say hi and welcome to Mark Buselig just joined us. Good to see you, Mark. We got two Marks in the house. Anyone else have community events that we fill the time with here? I don't want to have Bogdan be sweating it while he's getting his screen share going. To Bogdan, I don't know if you have a PowerPoint, but if you want to email me anything that I can share, or if you want me to bring it up and give you control, we can try that too if we need to.
Yes, so this thing is moving very slow.
Yes.
Sharing.
You might cut your video if you wanted to. That might also help. But we are now seeing your screen, so I think we're in good shape.
Okay. Awesome. So you can see all right?
Yes.
I think,
Thanks for bearing with us, everybody, but looks like we're in good shape now. We'll dive right in.
Yeah, everything stopped working for a few minutes, but now it looks like everything's better. Okay, so also to give you a bit of context, because before I dig into the features of this new product we're releasing, so our idea was that the DNN community has shrinked a lot, and for vendors as well, the sales has shrinked a lot. And then this, what I'm going to show you now, was our decision to see how we can use the technology that we have, but reach to other markets. And then we build all this platform that is not like the rest of our modules. It's much more simple for everybody to use. So you don't have to know DNN to start using this platform. And our focus is on building, yay! Yes. And our focus is on building web applications. Web application mainly for managing business processes. And apparently there is a very big market that is called low-code development platforms that do just this. Perhaps you heard of Zoho Creator, which is for smaller companies, but there are also enterprise level providers like Mendix, OutSystems, even Salesforce does this. So it's a huge market, And I think it fits very well with what we've been doing for the last 10 years. That is, build applications without having to write code. Or we had this problem that you did have to write some SQL code, but what I'm going to show you basically doesn't require SQL anymore. Okay, so let's jump into the demo. So basically we created a standard flow of how business applications are created. We have a getting started guide on the main page of the application builder, but I will not go through it in depth because I'm going to show you anyway. But basically there are a few steps. You have an idea of what you want to achieve, what you want to solve, and then you identify who's on that application, who needs to interact with the application. You build a data model to store the specific data that the application operates with, and then you need to build processes to handle that data. And then, of course, this doesn't have to limit you the way we do things, because I will show you in the end that this is still DNN, so you can still go very custom from the path we propose. What you'll notice here is that I'm not a super user account. So I will start by creating some roles. And in fact, we already pre-created some roles to make it simple to start with. There are some roles that have a special meaning in the application. There are admins, and this is the role I'm logged in with now. And then there are citizen developers, which are basically business application developers, but not necessarily technical people. They don't know how to code. They will just navigate to these screens to build applications. And they cannot manage users, for example, like managers do. But on the other hand, managers cannot change the way the application works. It's just about permissions. And then you can create any number of roles, just as you can do in DNN. So let's create another role. Okay, so I will create, let's say I will create a simple CRM system or something like that. I think this is also required. So I'm just creating roles, they don't have any meaning yet, but everything will connect in the next screen, because then you start building the data model. The data model, which we call entities, which is a familiar term like entity framework. Microsoft uses it. For less technical people, this is actually a bit difficult to explain what that entity is. Okay, so then let's create, I don't know, the most popular entity we all want, which are the customers. I have some setting here. I can choose to put it in the menu, and I can choose an icon to associate with this entity. So it's displayed in menu, but also in other places where this is needed. The screen sharing is actually slowing down everything for me on this end, so I just be patient.
Yeah, Bogdan, in a situation like that, you might pause your video recording, and if you pause that, you might find that the other portions are snappier.
Okay, let me see where I can stop it from. Okay, found it. Okay, so video is off. You can still see my screen, right?
Yes, if no one else said yes, I just came off of mute. Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah, so I define some general settings, and after that I start creating the properties of this entity. Let's say a customer has a name, maybe has an address, maybe it has a value that I give to it, and then I can also define the types. And here you'll see what I was talking about earlier, and you'll see that again and again. We try to mask the SQL data types. So we create text fields, or we create money fields, or phone number fields, which are not necessarily database fields. And then also some metadata that I can attach to each column. And you'll see in a bit how everything ties together. Okay. Then I have to choose a display name. So whenever my entity, I need to show it in a compressed form, it will use this column, the name column, to show it. And then on the next screen, here it connects to the roles that I create for my applications. So here I can see the built-in roles are already ticked, all the settings. But then for the roles that are specific to my applications, I have 2 levels of permissions built in. So I can say, for example, that the sales rep can maybe see their own customers. They can add new customers. They can edit their own customers. And they can delete no customers. That only the manager can do, for example. Okay, so once I'm saving this, here I can see a tree that will start building. Why do I say a tree? Because this is a relationship database. So let me also show you what's creating behind the scenes. Not here. Okay, so let's create another entity until I can connect to the database. So let's say that the customer has some orders. Order, singular, and then plural orders. Come on. I have something with order here. No order. Okay, so I'll just create, let's say, some order ID number, and just let's say just a value for this order. I will not bother with so many fields now, because what I want to show you is that I can connect these 2 entities. So I can say that a customer has a list of orders. So a customer can place 1 or more orders on our system. So then I can create a new property, which is not a primitive, but then it can be a list of orders. And here you'll notice that I already have access also to some built-in entities, like the users of the platform, or the roles in the platform, or documents. Okay. So once I created this and I save it, you can see the tree, it starts building the relationship. And now I want to show you what's been generated in the database.
I can begin by saying, Bogdan, that I'm so proud of your setup in that these are not blobs within specific database tables, that you actually have proper database tables and relationships being created.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. We are also really proud of this, and also the way the update works. I will show you in a bit, but let me find the ID of the instance. So this would be like file for C22, this one. Okay, so we created all the tables in a new schema, and then I have real tables for anything. So the customers would be like a real table that would have real columns where we map fields to the database type. So if I choose a phone number, it's a text in the database, and we keep that mapping. And then we also have some good practices, like we created index key for everything that is sortable. And then also this would be the order table, and this will be the join table. So we also generate a join table between the customers and their orders. And of course, everything is smoothly tied together with foreign keys. Yeah. So this is a robust database structure that we implemented, and then this is not everything we generated automatically. So up until now, I was in the application builder interface, but if I go back to the application, you'll see that this has been generated for you. No, just kidding. This is just a mock-up. But the customer page was generated for me. And here on the customer page, I can see the listing of customers. I can create new customer. And I can give a value. So this is a money field. Yeah. So this was already generated for me. And furthermore, you'll see this gear here up top, where even if I don't have administration rights here, I'm not a super user or anything, I can still go into this form and this grid to further customize it. You know, so even for users that are not super users or real DNN administrators, we still offer them access to go in and do very advanced stuff. And now, what's interesting, if I go back to the builder and I start changing things, because that's how customers are like, they tend to ask for changes and new features. And then if I go and change a property, let me go and refresh it. Yeah, you'll see that I didn't lose the data. So we also handle renames of properties, rename even of entities without losing the data. Yeah. And then that's not all we generated. We also generated the APIs. So for example, for customers, I have a action that an API that will create a customer. And this API now looks in a more natural way. So you have the input parameters that are exactly the properties that I defined in my entity. But then to create a new customer, you don't need SQL. So for each entity, we also generate the CRUD actions to operate with those entities. So you would use the create new customer action and just pass the name, the address, the amount as tokens. You can do some processes before that to do whatever processing they need to before creating the new customer. So I think this was a big challenge for us to allow building these applications without knowing SQL, because traditionally this has been a requirement with our suite of modules over time. And same with reading the customer, updating it, and getting customers.
Bogdan, the comment I'll make at this point is that I can see how elements such as the endpoint API, the DNN Sharp endpoint API, elements are present here, but you didn't have to set them up. You didn't have to set up the pieces by yourself. The data was already there. You could certainly use the endpoint API to set this up manually, but because you started creating it first with the data and then proceeded forward, things like this being already built for you, it would make it very easy for people who aren't developers to get their feet wet, think about the fields and think about the data, and begin building in a way that they can later dive in with more if they feel like it, but they don't have to.
Yeah, exactly. So we created this platform to quickly build the CRUD, the boilerplate for an application. So we reduce days, maybe even weeks, to 1 hour, 2 hour tops. Yeah. Yeah. So this entity model can get quite big. So the customer has orders, but then I can say that the customer also has users that log in the platform. So then I just create another property and I say it's a list of users. No, and then the data model starts to build and grow, and you can also see the relationships between the data. Okay, so I think I covered everything about entities, except there is also a detail page, but unfortunately it doesn't look too well at this point. So this would be a detail page for the entity where we use tabs, our tabs pro module to display listing for all the sub properties of an entity, and then this is the edit form. We are in the process of making this detail page look better. But what I want to show you here is here I can add orders, for example. What's interesting is that I can maybe it doesn't make sense for this database structure that I put in place, but you can link one child entity to multiple parent entities. Like it would be the case, for example, with contact persons, for which can be contact person for multiple companies.
Bogdan, I was just wondering, as you're doing this, is this a SaaS product, or is this a solution that's provided on premises? What's kind of the deployment of this? I guess as I'm watching this, I can see all kinds of use cases in my mind, but like where's my data being stored? Is that something that it's as I mentioned, it's a SaaS product, or is that something I can control?
So we are mainly SaaS, but we also have on-premise options. So this basically, the application builder is a module that can be installed on an existing DNN instance, and it will require all our modules to already be installed because it relies on them to generate all this boilerplate.
Okay,
And
cool.
after I finish the demo, I can also go to show you the business model that we are proposing. And then maybe your questions will be better answered. Okay, so what I was saying is that I can link existing entities to multiple parent entities. So in this case, I created an order in Acme Inc., but I linked it to my company as well. Yes. And here again on this page, I can go and customize every form and every grid, and even the tabs pro module and the HTML modules on the pages, I can go in and customize them. Okay, and of course, let me switch back here where I'm not incognito. Here I'm actually logged in as a super user. Let's see if I'm still logged in. Yes. So here I'm logged in as a super user, and we try to match the color of the persona bar so it appears better integrated. But here basically I can do anything. So some people that we talked about, they see a power in this, a value in this to give the application building features to their customers that will not mess with the host features. So they will handle the host feature for the customers while not being loaded with all the changes that customers want, which they can do themselves. Okay, so getting back to my application builder, I'm ready to show you another powerful piece that we built, which is actually not as stable as the entities yet. So that's why we labeled it that's in preview mode. We basically designed a new way to build processes. So far, you do that in our modules by building list of actions. The problem with the list of action is that you cannot really fork, you cannot really build multiple paths in the processes. One thing, and the other thing is that usually they are not reusable. You would have to create it maybe in an API endpoint and then call it from various modules. Whereas what we've created now is a more visual way to build processes. So we use a standard here, it's called BPMN, Business Process Modeling Notation. So this would be like the start of the process, and then I can add an action. And when I add an action, these are the actions you already know. So I can, I don't know, send an email, for example. And then I see the settings that I already know is the same screen that you'd see in action form. Yeah, but then you can branch the process. So this will be like, they call it parallel gateways in BPMN. It's basically like a switch case. So I can start branching out. I can add an action. I don't know, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, and put the condition here. So this is the same thing as the condition in our product. So I could put here has role users, for example, or any condition that you would use in our modules. Yeah, and then I will add another branch. Oh, doesn't really matter the action because I'm not going to run it anyway. Yeah, so then you have two branches. And here I can even leave it empty to mark it as the default branch. Yeah. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, and this way of building processes also can be enforced because it has strict rules which we can validate, we can extend, we can build new rules. So for example, here it tells me that I have 3 errors because I didn't add labels basically. This is a rule that we'll probably renounce, give up to. But then the final error is that you need to end a process. Yeah, you can either end it. I think it will not work like this. It will say you that, oh, it works actually. Oh, no, incoming flows do not join. So what this tells me is that I have to end the exclusive gateway before I can end the process. So now I have a correct process. So in a way, using validation, we can also assist people with using this tool, which is somehow not that popular. Usually business processing tools are not that popular, but using this kind of validation, we can assist people to learn about how to use them. And of course, no, save for me today. Okay. Save doesn't work apparently for that one. And of course, once I create this workflow, I can call it from everywhere. So let me just go into any API and then add a new action. And there should be like something like execute workflow. Execute workflow. And of course, here there should be a drop-down. Just put the ID, and then you can also pass input fields into the workflow, like which will be available as tokens. Yeah. And this way is also possible to think of workflows as reusable functions, because of course there's nothing stopping you from, so this is an existing process, nothing stops me from executing a workflow from another workflow. No? So I can call to a different workflow.
Is there any version history as you're changing the workflows, or some of these other more kind of codes? I know it's not code, but you know what I mean, more technical areas. So if I change that, could I roll back potentially if I guess one of my business users made a mistake or something like that?
There are two things we are building right now for this. So we'll have versions, but only on deployments, because we'll have something like environments. So we create version on deployments. But there's also another feature that I wanted to show to you. I don't have it configured here, but I show it on another portal. We did a GitHub integration where every change that is made to any module from a DNN instance gets pushed to a GitHub repository.
One that I could define as a user of this, or kind of one of your repositories?
You can define it as your user. It can be your repository.
Cool.
Yeah. So here in connectors, we are creating a new way to connect to applications, and then you can create a connection of type GitHub, put your username, generate a personal access token, and then you have the connector, and then you just configure it to use it here. This is general settings that we still have to work with, but I can show you how it looks like for a real project that we started building on this app builder.
Before you get too far away from your workflows, Bogdan, you showed us calling workflow from within a workflow, and you went back to an API, and you included a workflow in an API. You're able to do so also just in more basic sense within the forms that are being run, so you can have a workflow kicked off as part of a submission process or part of an action form?
Yes, of course. Yeah. Oh. here. I should be here. No, here I'm the super user. Here. So yes, of course. So even if I go to any form, it's still an action. I can call it from anywhere. No. So here I'm in a form, and on a button, I still have the access to the execute workflow action. So in a sense, it's a globally available action. Execute workflow. So I can use it in any action-enabled modules. It's form, it's grid, maybe Sharp scheduler or API endpoint. They all can call workflows. Yeah. So I will come back to the workflow. Let me finish with this one. Yeah. So here it's a project that we are building with this app builder, and basically for every change of a module, it exports that module and makes a GitHub commit in this repository. So that is a very nice way to keep a track of all the changes, to have a diff between the module exports, and also have accountability, so you know who changed it and when. Unfortunately, I couldn't get all the people not to use the super user account while developing. So I do have an Andre here. Yeah. But then basically you can see everything that's going on. The module export, it's not that powerful now because we have some escape JSON in some of our modules. Let's look at the grid. But we also have this on the list to fix. Like this is the JSON that DNN escapes, puts in a C data, and it looks quite difficult to make a diff on it. Yeah. For now, it's one way, so you cannot push back, but probably at some point we are thinking to be both ways. Yeah. So let's get back. Yeah, so on our roadmap, we want to be able to create multiple environments and then do deployments between environments. And then we'll also have some versioning systems, so you can roll back an environment and so on. Okay, so getting back to the work.
Sorry about the backup, though. I was trying to get off of mute. At that point, though, if this is in a standard DNN instance, any of the normal things you do for regular backup would also apply. So running daily or weekly backups and being able to restore those would also, whole part and parcel get you a restore of a previous state, right?
Yes, of course. It's still a DNN instance, so you can still do anything that you used to do. Okay, so are there any more questions on the workflow piece?
I'll tell you that the workflow has been some of the biggest conversation that's been happening in the chat. It impressed a lot of good questions coming out of how visually simple this is for what really under the hood must be a lot of detail and a lot of data manipulation, rules, and logic. So it's very impressive.
Thanks, yes. Where we want to take this workflow in the future is that we want also to work on the entities. So you can define an entity as an input, which in turn would automatically add a button on the grid for that entity, but also create it with a state. So you could have a process that is not executed at once. It gets up to a point where it waits for an event. So maybe it waits for a user to complete a task, or maybe it waits for an external event or a timer event, like waiting for 2 weeks to pass before sending a follow-up if the user hasn't bought in the meantime, or something like that. So yeah, this will be a big thing.
Hey Bogdan, just out of curiosity, have you guys looked into MQTT any?
Which one, sorry?
I was just curious if you have looked into MQTT for
No, I haven't used in that. I haven't looked at that one.
Basically like a messaging bus, so
Oh, okay. Okay, I think I remember about it. It's a messaging queue, okay?
Yep, exactly.
You suggest this for the events piece that I mentioned?
It's something worth looking into. It would be wonderful if we found a way to get that working in the context of a DNN instance.
Yeah. We look at the event queue that is currently in DNN, but I don't think we are going to use that. So maybe
I blame you there.
yeah, so maybe it's worth thinking about integrating this in DNN and then using it in DNN maybe as a provider or something. Yeah. So the other screens are just what you'd expect. Automation is our Sharp scheduler product. Variables is our my tokens product. Training is our Infobox product, and updates is just a list from our changelog. Yeah.
Well, Bogdan, as we come to the end of your presentation, the things that you wanted to share and show us, this is very, very impressive. I think that some of the power of it is immediately obvious to people who are online. For situations where you have corporations or businesses or organizations that need to create their own data, and you need to help set it up for them to begin with, perhaps, but after that, they want to be able to manage and manipulate their data, but they're wanting to manipulate their business processes and their business operating software. This is an ability to do that without them having to purchase or subscribe to something that is very canned and specific to, perhaps their industry or tailored to their industry, but not specific to them. This is very, very interesting. I suspect it'll take a little while to sink in before some of the power of it is apparent, but I already see several people who are saying that they would absolutely see using this for customers.
Mm-hmm.
You showed us being logged into the app side and the manager here inside of Evoke, and you described that mixed case where people would be using stuff, building it inside of the app, but then maybe other pages and a photo gallery or other traditional DNN modules might be used to do other elements of a system that then that customer would use, that the organization would use. So let's just imagine that they have a photo gallery and they have a blog that they want to use that's DNN based, and then they have these other things that are mixing in there. In the other screen where you're logged in kind of on the front end and you're showing what the front end would look like, how would those DNN related pages and the app mix together? Are these app pages for home and customers and settings, are they DNN pages or are they special things?
Yeah, they are DNN pages with grids and forms on them.
So in this situation, there you go. Yeah, you as a host, you can log in and see these. And if you go into the pages section, you find customers and settings and manage.
Mm-hmm.
And persona bar.
Yeah, so actually what we are thinking right now is to create a new role that is called IT developer, which is not super user but has a button to switch itself to super user.
Yes. Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, so here I'm on the page. I can add modules. I can see the page settings.
I see. Interesting. You're in a hybrid state. You're not connected as a host at the moment, but you can add pages and add modules to pages.
No, I'm a host now, so I'm host.
Yeah, okay. The persona bar had not come into screen there a moment ago. I guess.
Yeah, so I think we hide it. I think it should be saved in the cookie if it's hidden or not. But basically there's a button here to hide it. Yeah, so I can open page settings, and here I can see everything about the page and even the permissions that we added to this page.
Very interesting.
So for example, I can see sales rep can view this page, but the other role, the users, cannot see it because I didn't give it permission to customers. Yeah, so here I can add more modules to the page. I can add globe galleries, I can add pages, and here this menu is NavXP, so I can start also building my custom templates, my multiple security-based different menus and stuff like that. So basically we try to throw as much value as we already have, but orchestrate it somehow. So you don't have to do it to put all the pieces together like you had to do it until this point.
Right. Well, so Bogdan, so far you've been using this internal with DNN Sharp customers. What are some of the use cases where you've put this together and applied it? Maybe describe a little bit about what those companies are like and what what their needs have been.
Yeah. So one project that we implemented for is a business membership kind of group, business association, where they need to handle, first of all, membership. So there are paying members, they have to renew every year, they have some invoices and stuff like that, all the process related to being a member of an association. But then they also have like events, where events have I don't know, sponsor, attendees, stuff like that. And they also have some projects that they do internally. So I can go into this app builder, and I can show you, for example, their data structure. So they have events at the core, and then events has a lot of parameters. So actually the model grew mostly horizontally in this case. And going back to the application, I'm super user, so I might see a bit more than a normal user could see. But then they have their stuff here. For example, is their process to know who expires in the next 30 days and act on it in a way or another. And these are just a bunch of screens to handle various aspects of their business.
This is a perfect use case example of something that gets set up one time and then gets used heavily, but every few years they might decide they need to change dramatically, and they have an ability to do that without without needing to have heavy development that isn't that's all back-end and code. This is very interesting. I could probably count 2 or 3 client projects a year that already could have been using this in the past.
Yeah. So actually the model that we go with for these companies is that we sell them a subscription that also includes some hours for customizations, because it's very easy for us to do, it's not expensive for them, and then we will not get to do a major rewrite in a few years. Maybe we do it over time in small chunks. Ideally, that would happen with every client, so you don't arrive 4 years later that they are on DNN 6.
That happens all the time.
Yeah. So this is one project, and I think it's there's another project which is a email marketing platform. I don't have access to that to show it to you now, or I have. Let's see. I don't know. I don't think I access it, but basically it's a system where it's a startup that they want to implement a product recommendation engine based on their own algorithm that calculates based on retention and other factors. And then we also integrated Amazon product recommendation for them, and it's
Bogdan, I'm gonna pause you before you type in anything, because this screen felt very familiar and at home to me, because you're using one of my absolute hands-down favorite Chrome plugins, and I'll mention it to everybody else while it was on the screen. Toby is a fantastic plugin that if you, like me, will in the middle of the day have 22 different tabs open across several different monitors, and suddenly you need to clean up to do a screen share or a presentation, you cringe at having to close down all those browser windows and tabs, and Toby allows you to just click and say save session, and it remembers all the tabs, condenses them down, and these are the tab sets that Bogdan has had open recently. I use the same thing, and every time I set up a new computer, it's one of the first tools that I plug into to Chrome. That's very funny. You also have refresh every. I have that too. That's very funny. Okay, Bogdan, I apologize. I sidetracked there.
No worries. One of the powerful features that I use is that you can also share it. So I have a namespace here where these are tabs that I shared with the team. So various members have access to different tabs. So we all have the same links, the same shortcuts.
That is very neat. I do not do that, and I think I will. That's very interesting.
Yeah.
Almost as a plug for something out of DNN Summit, one of the things we do at the community conference is we do a business roundtable, a DNN roundtable, and the idea of the business roundtable is exactly what we just did here now. Business owners, developers, people getting together, and they all talk about things that they do in their daily work and in their business, and that's when you start to hear, oh, I use Slack, oh, I don't, and you kind of share your tools and your business process with each other. It's sometimes that's some of the best value you get out of networking. Okay, I back up. Back to you, Bogdan.
Yeah, so I want to conclude this by showing you the page that is still under construction, but there will be some valuable information here. First of all, not this part, but notice the URL. So basically we say that App Builder is a platform for building web application. It's not necessarily a module, although you can install it as a module. But we see the value in it being a platform. Yeah, so and then it includes all the modules. So with App Builder, because it operates with all the modules and relies on them to provide the value. And then it has some exclusive features like the GitHub integration, the entity builder, the workflow builder that I showed you. We have on-premise and on-cloud options. And here is the description. We need to put some screenshots here. They're underway. The feature description, all the modules are included. And then maybe I'll jump to pricing. Yeah. So here we try to make everybody happy, so to speak. It's tough to do.
That's impressive. I wouldn't have imagined a free level, even a small amount of a $5 level or something, free for 5 users. Many small organizations could certainly use that, and work and really supply their small business out of just that.
Yep. So the free plan comes with 2 limitations. One is that we do limit the number of entries and the storage. This is one. And the other one is that you'll be on, like I was here, on a apps.plantanet URL. Mm-hmm. And there will also be a powered by Plantanet somewhere, of course. So I think this is nice. Maybe we'll realize that it's not profitable for us, but to raise awareness and get people in the community, I think is very good. And that's what we want.
And what's your enterprise just off screen?
Yeah, so we also have an enterprise plan. Basically, the enterprise requirements are involved. So dedicated account managers, some will want 24/7 support or at least support on their time zone. And then there are some features that are required for enterprise, like granular permission or data history or Active Directory integration with other providers.
Yeah, more enhanced builds of what you're doing for them. And having a dedicated account manager, that's a portion of someone's time every week that's dedicated to that particular client. That's completely understandable.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
And then the I don't know, the on-premise for people who have DNN instances that they want to put this into existing.
Yeah. So for the on-premise, it will be the enterprise plan or this the third plan. So I think there is here. So our price.
Okay.
Yeah. So our pricing will be $350 per month for the on-premise. One thing that actually what drives the prices, or a main component that drives the prices of our products, is actually the support. So, for example, this seeds price for the middle plan, it doesn't have super user access. It doesn't have super user access because that means simpler support that we can give, which in turn means that we can give it at a lower price.
And as they use elements of DNN Sharp modules, those features and modules would be updated as new versions are out, and therefore it's part of kind of a perpetual, fresh version of those modules. Within the app and its portions, I guess what I'm struggling to think of the question, frame the question is when, did I lose internet? No, I'm still good. Is each account a separate instance of your tools, or as you update and add new features over the course of several months, is that automatically in place for existing users, or do you have to roll it out to them in phases or in stages?
I think we'll have a upgrade policy where we set up an interval for each client when they want for us to automatically deploy the updates.
Yeah.
We have to automatically deploy the updates, otherwise we'll arrive at the same problem with having the DNN lagging a few years behind, or our modules lagging a few years behind.
Yes.
Of course, new versions or new builds could create regression, so that's why we will give these options to every account holder to define an interval and maybe a frequency for the deployment of updates.
Right, something they're comfortable with based on their business.
Exactly.
Two, if something changes, I wouldn't expect it to change dramatically between version updates, but if they're not prepared training-wise for some new way of doing something, they can say they only want to do it at the end of every month or end of every quarter or something. Okay?
Yeah.
Well, Bogdan, we're coming to the end of our time here for SoFri, and I'm going to be thinking about this heavily for the next several hours and wondering what clients I could bring something like this to first. Let me turn to the online team. David had to leave just a few moments ago, so he's already out. But to everyone online, do you have any questions that we haven't asked so far that we want to ask Bogdan about before we say goodbye?
Not a question, more of a comment. I've worked in many enterprises where you got big teams of people with processes, and you get all kinds of strange solutions that when IT won't deliver something, they go off and find a bunch of things. This is a tool which looks to be like you could rapidly build out simple workflows, and or more advanced too. You showed some pretty advanced things in there. Especially for like just form generation, and like I've done things in the past where you have to monitor email boxes and pull data in and move it from A to B to C, and lots of manual processes or lots of custom implementations. So this looks like something that could probably do a lot of that in one solution, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so we aim to make this product really big. We're also looking for funding to really accelerate it. So we're looking for funding even in US. Yeah. So I think it has great potential. That's why we invested so much in it. And I think it's the DNN still has a lot of value, and DNN Sharp because we have all this technology that matured over time. So it's much more stable than if we were to build it from scratch. And then there's also a big community, still a big community of people all over the world that know DNN and know DNN Sharp.
Bogdan, as you get closer to releasing this and putting it out there, let's have you talk about a partner program, because I could completely see people who themselves are not developers, however they're business process thinkers, creating a business for themselves where they just go out on the streets to find clients, and they walk into businesses and say, what do you have for your business solution software? What do you have for your business solution software? And Plant an App is their tool set, and all they do all day long is go find customers and set them up. And if you have a very good partner program set up so that their cost gets billed in along with your monthly, that would make it turnkey for you to suddenly make yourself have salesmen out there building your client base.
Yes, we do have a partner program under development, and it will only be for this plan, for the enterprise plan, because it doesn't make sense for these smaller plans. But for the enterprise plan, we were thinking about giving commissions for 30% in the first year and then 50% on renewal for customers.
Really any structure that you create, I'm sure someone can find a business model for and make some success out of it. Very exciting. Well, Bogdan, thank you very much for an engaging presentation. We waited a few moments to get started, and it was completely worth it. Thank you, Bogdan, for spending time with us here tonight and presenting. You pitched this idea to me a few months ago by saying, hey, you've got something very exciting, and I agree with you. You have delivered something that is very exciting, and as I said, I'll be thinking about it for the next several hours about who's the first person I should try and apply this to. So it's going to be very interesting. Okay, thank you very much, everyone. That is our Southern Fried DNN User Group meeting here for October. We have our next meeting in November. We have Mike coming in to do a DNN Shine presentation and release party with us, so we'll plan to celebrate there as well. Until then, if anyone has questions or has things that you'd like for us to cover, reach out to us both on Twitter, at our website, or at the info@southernfrieddnn.com address. And thank you very much for joining us tonight, everyone.